the big leagues when they assign you security detail. We're at the Great American Ballpark here in Cincinnati, and we're set to interview Dodgers Assistant General Manager Kim Ng. Chad, you know who Kim Ng is?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, check this webisode out.
It's Be Your Own Fan TV with your host, Tyler Taminia, sponsored by M-Style Marketing.
Well, I get asked this question a lot, and you have to get asked more than me, but everybody asked me, how do you break into sports, and what's the one thing, one piece of advice you can give to our fans that are...
being incredibly persistent, you know, and you know, 20 years ago when I got in this thing, it wasn't as mainstream an idea as it is now, and so I really do feel for a lot of the people that are trying to get in now, but back then, I mean, you know, I sent out resumes to anybody I could find, you know, in the career and placement office at my college. You know, I was networking with all of my coaches and see if they knew anybody who was in professional sports, you know, and really just, you know, you have to be willing to get in any way that you can, really. I mean, you know, it could be, you know, working here as a concessionaire. You know, it could be working in the accounting department of a big league club. Any way to get access to those baseball people is key. Yeah, well, speaking of that, you've worked for some great general managers along the way. I have.
What's maybe one best piece of advice they've given you from each that you can recall on?
Patience.
Yeah.
You know, and that was from the first GM that I worked for, Ron Schuler. Yeah, and you know, shoot pretty well. But he was one of the more patient guys I've ever come across, and you know, I think that really bodes well for a lot of us in this industry because it's such an emotional game. I mean, you know, this is a public utility in a lot of ways, and you know, you're hearing it from fans when you walk through the stands. You're hearing it from the media, you know, especially in this day and age with the media being what it is, and you know, being able to do a webisode is very cool. But you know, you can't let a lot of external factors, you have to listen, but you can't let them dictate your decisions. And I think you really have to have, you know, a good thought process and make sure that you follow that thought process all the way through and with each and every decision. And when you do that, I think that in itself can equal patience. You know, and I think it's, you know, I've watched Ned Colletti work now for 4 years, and he's been great in terms of being patient with a lot of the kids that we've had coming through our system and coming up to the big league level. And I think we are, you know, bearing the fruit of that patience. You know, Matt Kemp hit his 7th home run last night, you know, and we've still got, you know, 8 days left in April. So it's, I mean, it's pretty exciting for us as, you know, as a team and as a franchise to see patience really pay off.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, now you've been an AGM, American League, now National League. Obviously, there's some fundamental differences, but philosophically, maybe in the front office, is there anything that's, you know, that's a little bit different, maybe on the National League side? That's
sure. You know, the way that you construct your lineup and that you think about your bench is completely different. You know, and especially going from the Yankees to now a National League club, but you really have to think about your bench a ton. You know, and what guys you can add, and versatility, and you know, having that, having guys be multi-dimensional, I think is really important. You know, guys who can play infield and outfield. You know, not guys who just bang off the bench. I mean, those guys are great, but you have to think about having, you know, guys with a lot of speed, and you can do a lot of different things. So, you know, yes, very, very different, but I actually really I enjoy the National League.
There seems to be a lot of emphasis on player characteristics outside the tools. Do you think women have an advantage on that?
You know, that's an interesting question.
It's been talked about a lot.
That's an interesting question. I don't know if we have an advantage. You know, there aren't too many other women for me to talk to about it, and I'm not sure if guys see that, but I've actually thought it myself. You know, just in terms of, I think, you know, a lot of times women, you know, and this is, you know, from studies and obviously generalizations, that, you know, I think women are better at empathizing. And so I think that has a lot to do with sort of that mindset and being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and have a little bit more understanding of what's going on, not just out on the field. So I do see a little bit of that in myself, and I think it actually, you know, it serves me quite well when you're negotiating.
Absolutely.
You know, when you're in the office, you know, when you're managing staff. So it's a pretty interesting dynamic.
Yeah. So going forward, I mean, we've got some great fan interest now in this game. I think somewhat renewed. The Dodgers, or baseball in general, do you believe need to do in order to maintain that interest in this game going forward for fan appeal? And
you know, I think there are a number of organizations that are doing a much better job of interacting with the fans. You know, and from what I've seen, a lot of it has become about engaging them. You know, and not just on the field, but you know, in the stands, on the concourses, in the outfield. And I think that's a huge deal. And you know, and I think there's much more of a sense regarding families and younger kids and how to, you know, we're trying to keep the game moving in itself, to keep fan interest in there, you know, for 3 hours, hopefully less. But you know, I think ballparks are more understanding of, you know, bringing your little ones, your 3-year-olds, your 4-year-olds out here and having something for them to do. What
made you choose this path? Because it's a tough one. I mean, no one's been down this, and it takes, I think, a certain characteristic in somebody, an admirable one, to go down such a tough path.
Yeah, no, it's been fun along the way. You know, when I was in college, I will tell you that my interest was piqued in sports. Well, I mean, I was a tomboy throughout my life. But my interest in really developing a career in sports came when I was a senior in college, and I did my Bachelor of Arts thesis on Title IX, which is a great subject for me. And I got to really, you know, find out a lot about myself and a lot about, you know, what had taken place, you know, and not very long. I mean, when you look at things in the grand scheme of it, not very long before me. So it really made me think, you know, I was talking to coaches and administrators, and it really made me think, well, maybe I could, you know, shoot for a career in sports. And that's when I just started sending resumes out to everybody. You know, in terms of my path, it's actually not as different as a lot of the younger guys, you know, that came up with me and before me. You know, some of my bosses, you know, Brian Cashman was an intern, Dan Evans was an intern. You know, and so it wasn't that different, but I think probably in terms of perception of me, you know, it had to be. It had to be. It was, you know, clearly I'm a novelty. And, you know, there have been a few bumps and bruises along the way, but, you know, you just have to be as strong as you can and, you know, and have tough skin and, you know, really just understand what your sight is set on.
Right. What's a GM interview like?
You know,
fans asked me to ask you this one. So.
Really?
I thought it was a good one because I said, you know, look, we all go through interviews all the time. So, but a GM interview, that's got to be a little.
It's a little nerve-wracking. You know, you're supposed to, you know, in a lot of ways, you're supposed to have all the answers to their organization when you probably don't have all the answers to your own. You know, but I think it's really, well, especially for me, it's really about trying to get them comfortable with me, you know, and understanding my philosophies and what I really bring to the table. You know, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but I really think it depends on the personalities that are interviewing too. You know, how comfortable do they make you feel? And so it's really, in a sense, it's not that much different than any of the interviews we've ever been through before, you know, outside of this industry. But you know, they're fun because you really do. I mean, you study for a couple weeks if you have it, to prepare. Because you need to have answers. Yeah.
Well, now it's time for a Be Your Own Fan moment. So, give me your career highlight.
I have a couple.
All right, give us a couple.
You know, the first one had to be when I was with the Yankees in '98. and we won 114 regular season games, and you know, we went through the playoffs. And you really don't, I mean, it's almost like a dream. You really don't think it's going to happen, and then we end up sweeping the Padres. It was like the you know, fairy tale ending to the book. So that was a great moment, and knowing that, you know, I was part of a club that had accomplished so much, and the fashion in which they did it, really. I mean, that's the team that I call the sum of the parts. And there was really no one superstar. I mean, you know, Jeter was pretty young in his career at that time. You know, not one player hit 30 home runs, and it was really just your classic team effort. And you really don't see that very often anymore. So that was one. And then my second was actually, there was a GM opening a couple of years ago. And they were, media was questioning the owner, and they said, one of the questions to the owner was, will the new person be able to bring in his own staff? And the owner said, that person will be able to bring in his or her own staff. And I thought that was really cool, because, you know, I am a part of changing a way of thinking.
Absolutely.
And so that was pretty cool.
That is cool. Do you remember the first game you went to?
It was a long time ago, Tyler.
Yeah.
I do. It was 1976, Yankee Stadium.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. With the family, or?
Yep. Mom used to get free tickets from her bank.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. And so she took us, and it was Bat Day.
Great. When's the last time you were able to actually just be a fan at a ballpark?
You know, that's trying to think. I'm not sure in my entire career. I mean, it's really tough. I mean, we're working all the time, and I can't say on my off days that I'm going to a ball game.
Right.
You know, I tend to relax a little bit more at the minor league parks.
So when you become general manager, what's the first thing you're gonna do? Don't laugh. What's the first thing that you're gonna do?
Probably call Mom.
Awesome.
Gotta give Mom a call. I think she's anxiously awaiting.
We featured an owner, a general manager, and an assistant general manager, and I'm turning it back to you, the fans. Let me know who you'd like to see next. Tweet me at @BeYourOwnFan. I'll see you in 2 weeks.